Hello everybody. So my name is Max Edkins. I'm the climate change expert on the Connect for Climate program of the World Bank Group. I'm here today with Mayor Dickert, and he's the mayor of Racine from Wisconsin. We're going to have a casual chat about your engagement around climate change and how you got involved in the Compact of Mayors.
Sure.
So maybe just start from the beginning. How did you get involved in the Compact of Mayors?
Well, the first thing is I work on a national water council, the U.S. Conference of Mayors Water Council, and then a binational council, which is the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative. And as I was sitting on these two committees, I started to notice that nationally, and then as we meet with mayors from around the world globally, that water issues were ramping up. Not only were the water issues ramping up, but the way that the climates were changing were becoming far more dramatic. So on top of that, we started seeing levels in our aquifers that were actually reducing at a rate that was unsustainable. So the more and more we talk as mayors, as colleagues, we've realized that these issues are not issues that we're going to talk about in 2040 or 2050. These are actually issues that are impacting us directly right now. So as I look to my children's future and their children's future, we determined that if we don't start acting now very aggressively, they were going to be actually worse off. And as a parent, I can't allow them to have their futures worse off because of our inaction.
Absolutely. So was there actually a trigger mechanism in Racine that got you really engaged with the climate movement, or was it more of a gradual process?
It was a little bit of gradual. Just before I became mayor, we did see one incident that changed the perception of all the people in Racine, and that was a 500-year weather event for flooding that took a portion of our inner city completely out. And it just wiped through the city and almost wiped that area clean. The sad part about it was we started seeing 100-year floods happening every year, and the 500-year floods happening every 4 or 5 years. So we have started, since the first day I came in office, we started long-range planning immediately for our infrastructure and our efforts to start staving off, but preparing for these types of events.
Great. Talking about planning, so today we're at Climate Action 2016, and it's very much probably the first, if not one of the first conferences really targeting implementation of climate action. So what are your next activities, and what are your plans in the short and medium term?
Well, actually we started immediately doing long-term planning, so our entire infrastructure is planned out for completely revamped within 20 years. So we're doing everything from water and sewer, which Racine is known for as not only the best tasting water in the country, but one of the best beaches in the world, because we sit on Lake Michigan and we have a river running right through the middle of our city. So we started on long-range planning for our infrastructure. Our entire infrastructure should be rebuilt within 20 years. We're about 4 years into that now. But then we also started planning in all of our departments for long-term. That is everything from changing out our buses from a former diesel to a high-end efficiency model, to looking at what we're going to do with our cars, the way we're building our infrastructure with new bike paths and a citywide bike plan, to also globally how we're looking, because we're in the Chicago Metro Corridor. So we're in the corridor between Milwaukee and Chicago, looking out how we're going to start planning for long-term commuter rail throughout the system, and then also on a high-speed rail system, because the OECD report that I worked on and testified in Paris on has been brought back to that region of how we're going to rebuild this whole region by 2050. Because they're expecting 20 million more people in that region by 2050, and we're candidly not prepared for it. So how do we rebuild that entire infrastructure system for transportation so that we're ready for our children?
Wow, so some big challenges.
A lot of them.
So being part of the Compact of Mayors, what are your commitments, and what do you have to do to be part of the Compact?
Well, the first thing that we do as mayors, and we've been talking about this all day, we're really the people on the ground. A lot of people in the federal government talk about it and work on it, but we're really the folks that have to implement. So what we've done is we've started with all of our departments doing long-term planning for sustainability understanding that we have to change because the climate is the risk. And I always tell people, if you want to have a really great idea of what's going on, take out your Google Maps, and when you turn it on your phone and you look at it, and you look at that one Earth that's there from a long way away in space, that's the only one we have. So we have to start working on that every single day to protect it. So we do that, we build in all of the planning in our departments, but then we also reach out on the partnerships. And you've heard the mayors talk today about how we tend to steal each other's ideas or trade ideas. We actually look for those from other mayors. And we try to incorporate those things that create efficiencies, public-private partnerships, and you use the methodology to get the results that you want.
Fantastic. And then just a final question. How do you engage your city, so the population living within your boundaries? And maybe also if you could touch on a message for young people out there, because it is this generation that's feeling the impacts, and it's this generation that really has to deal with climate change so that we can continue living in a low-carbon resilient future. Right.
Well, the first thing that we do is we look at all the different ways that have been successful, and then we try to incorporate those into our city. So whether it's a master bike plan or long-term building out of highways, which include all your infrastructure, plus LED lights, plus stormwater management, plus bike paths, we look for different methodologies that we can use that can help us with the different areas that we're moving in. The key to all of this, though, is planning. And then once you get done with the plan, to work the plan. The difficulty that we have and the challenge for us and for our future is that we have to get out of the silos, whether it's the silo in the federal government, to the state government, to the local government, or more importantly, jurisdictional silos, where someone across the border is not working with you in tandem on these issues. But I will tell you this, and I will tell all the young people that are watching, this is your future. And as Mayor Quader said from Montreal, there is no time to waste. The decision as to whether it's happening or not is over. It's happening. And we're seeing it every day, but more importantly, we're paying for it every day. So to the young people, I challenge them to go to their elected officials and say, I would rather pay for it now and have you fix the problem than attempt in some way to pay for it in the future when it is unfixable. The cost of that alone is something that we haven't really amortized yet, but this is our planet and this is our future. So if you're not on board, get on board. And for those young people, if you're not part of the solution, then you're going to have to deal with it in the future, and we don't want to see that. So mayors are very aggressive on this because we know we're going to have to deal with it one way or another, and we're going to have to pay for it one way or another. But to all those young folks, I would say that there are candidates out there in the United States. Make your decision and get on board with one of them, but there's no more time to waste here. It's happening, and I don't want to leave my kids, and I refuse to leave my kids in a situation where their planet is worse off than when I started. If I have done that, I have failed as a father and as a mayor.
Some very strong words there from Mayor Dickert. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Max. It's great to see you. It's a pleasure.
Have a good day.
Thank you.